Hey everyone, it's Jules. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I basically talk about all things Iceland. I'm an expat that lives in Iceland, and if you're returning, good to see you. I have a very fascinating story to share with you, as you can tell by the title, and the cost of a speeding ticket here is like astronomical now at this point. It hasn't always been this way, but I would say fairly recently, the rules were changed in order to deter people as much as possible from speeding. And before I get into the story, I mean, Iceland is one of those places where there are long stretches of road. So the ring road goes all around the country, and it's pretty easy to speed because of these long stretches of road that are super beautiful, and you're seeing mountains and glaciers. But at some point, your foot could just press pretty hard on the gas and off you go. So with this particular story though, it is not me who got the ticket. It's actually a person that I met, and I'm not gonna share their name just because that's their business. But I met this individual when they were visiting Iceland, and her husband were driving around the ring road. And while she was saying it, she was just kind of like happily talking about how, yeah, we were, did the ring road. We were here for a couple of weeks. And pretty much when we were on our way back to Reykjavik, we were driving, and I was just going, 150 kilometers an hour, right? And I looked at her like, that's kind of fast, right? And she's saying like, it's no big deal. And she gets pulled over by the police. Now, just to let you know as well, there are speed cameras on different stretches of the road in Iceland, and there are signs that even tell you there are speed cameras. So what most people do if they're going a little over the speed limit, they will slow down when they see the speed camera sign. Of course, make sure they're going at the speed max or a little bit below while they're passing the camera and speed up a little bit. But they're usually not going over 60 kilometers per hour more than what the speed max is, which is 90 kilometers an hour. So this lady's saying this nonchalantly, like, yeah, I was just doing more than 150 kilometers an hour. And I was like, that sounds ridiculous and reckless, really. Then after that, she hits me with, yeah, and we got pulled over by the police and I got a speeding ticket. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So, how much was the speeding ticket? And she's like, haha, it was $900. First of all, why are you laughing, right? Like, this is what? It was $900. And, there are people who come to Iceland and they're on a budget. Now, I don't think they were necessarily on that much of a budget. She might have been laughing nervously, to be fair. I'll try and give her that. But $900 for speeding. People might have the impression that when you come here, that Iceland's really laid back. And for the most part, there are certain things they're laid back about. But when it comes to speeding, obviously not. And drinking while driving, definitely not. So just know that this is a big deal here. And 900 isn't the highest that you can get. I was a little skeptical of the story because I was just like, this seems like a lot of money. I'm gonna contact the police and ask them. And instead of like calling them up or something, I went onto Instagram because I'm very active on Instagram at All Things Iceland. And so are the Icelandic police, funny enough. And they have a really cute account. So if you ever have a chance to check that out, I recommend it. Police in Iceland are called Lögreglan. And I will have, of course, like a link in my description box below of their Instagram account. So I went on there and I just sent them a direct message and I said, hey, there's a woman that I met who's a traveler, and she said that she had gotten a $900 speeding ticket. Is that something that, could potentially happen to many other people? And the highest speeding ticket is just shy of 2,000 US dollars. I don't consider $2,000 to be quite a high speeding ticket. That is very high. That is ridiculously high. That is some people's, all of their vacation money, potentially, if they're like, backpacking and doing other things. So yeah, lots of money can go down the drain if you are not using your cruise control, and if you don't have cruise control in the car that you're in, if you're not being mindful of your speed. So I highly encourage anyone who's planning to come here to be mindful of that and don't speed. It's just not worth it. You know, of course they have in countries like Germany where you have the Autobahn. That's not a thing here. And I think in a defense of why there's such a high speeding max here is when you think about it, like at least for Iceland, in the summertime, that's when a lot of people are coming to Iceland to visit. The weather is much better for driving, and there are sheep, for instance, who are roaming free. You could, if you're going that fast, you could for sure potentially hit one of those animals. You could hit somebody else, a person, you could hit another car. There are some areas in the country where there are single lane bridges, which of course you have to slow down really fast when you get to those. So going 90 kilometers an hour is for your safety, and wind-wise and all the different kind of like variables that can happen here. It's better for you not to be going too fast. I actually talk about a lot of these things, including teaching people about Icelandic history, language, and culture in my All Things Iceland podcast. Of course, there will be a link in the description box below to that. You can access it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and so many other different places. And on Instagram, I am super active there in my Instagram stories every day, and of course posting in my main feed, sharing lots of information kind of similar to this one. You know, I don't share the same on YouTube as I do on Instagram or on the podcast, but I do a mix of different like Icelandic themed things on each channel. So look at those links below, and if you found this video helpful or informational, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. I'd love to know, I mean, have you been to Iceland? Did you know about this rule regarding how high the speeding tickets can be here? Have you met somebody potentially, or maybe it was you who got a speeding ticket? And what about where you live? I mean, are the speeding tickets that ridiculous? I'm from New York City. They can be high, but not this high. At least I'm not aware of them possibly being this high. I'm definitely gonna be posting more videos about things like this, whether it's story times or just fascinating facts about Iceland. So make sure you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell, which will let you know when I post a new video. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.